A group of Nigerian youth have staged a protest in Abuja calling for the immediate release of popular social media critic Martin Otse, popularly known as VeryDarkMan.
Let me ask you a very uncomfortable question. Nigeria has a ruling party. Nigeria has an opposition. Well, what is left of it? The PDP is in pieces. The Labour Party is fighting itself. And in 2025, governor after governor quietly packed their bags and moved into the ruling APC like it was the holy house with electricity in the neighborhood. So, here's the question. Who is actually holding the government accountable right now? Because if you have been paying attention, and I suspect you have, the answer might surprise you. It is not a senator. It is not a governor. It is not even a registered political party. It is a man in Abuja with a phone, a loud mouth, and zero fear. His name is Vincent Otse, but you know him as VeryDarkMan. And today, we are asking the question that everyone in Nigeria is whispering, but nobody wants to say it out loud. Is VeryDarkMan the most effective opposition force in Nigeria right now? Before we go any further, drop a comment, yes or no. Is VDM opposition or just entertainment? I will be reading every single response. Here is who Martin Vincent Otse is and why the whole country is arguing about him. He was not born into privilege. He did not go to the Ivy League schools. His formal education remains, by his own account, modest. In a country where your degree can determine your entire social standing, VDM built his platform on something far more valuable: the perception that it cannot be bought. He started out doing what many Nigerians do on social media, commenting on celebrities, calling out scandals, stirring dramas. But somewhere along the line, the drama became something bigger. He started exposing financial fraud. He showed up at hospitals to investigate patient neglect. He stormed marketplaces where traders said they were being extorted by government officials, including, in one memorable moment, directly calling out the Director General of NAFDAC. Think about that for a second. This is not a senator inviting someone to a committee hearing. This is a man with Instagram Live activating the conscience of a nation. By mid-2025, the Reuters Institute named VeryDarkMan the single most mentioned news creator in Nigeria across social media. Not a journalist, not a politician, a digital activist who lives in a rented apartment and drives a Toyota Corolla. And then came the moment that changed everything. In May 2025, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, arrested him. The stated reasons involved intellectual property and financial crimes allegations. But here is where it gets interesting. Within hours, protests erupted in Abuja. Placards read, "Ash-free VDM." Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar condemned the arrest. Peter Obi, the Labour Party 2023 presidential candidate, condemned the arrest. Music star Davido spoke up. Human rights bodies called it a constitutional violation.
We have spoken with authorities yesterday before even he came here. Our director, executive secretary, was able to make a few calls to know what is happening, and they promised him that the man is going to be released.
You got me forever. A social media influencer got arrested, and the response looked like a political rally. He was released after 6 days, and he came out louder than he went in. So, let me know, have you ever seen a social media personality get this kind of political response from opposition leaders? Tell me in the comments. Now, here is where the story gets genuinely, complicated. Because when we ask whether VeryDarkMan is the main opposition force in Nigeria, we are really asking two separate questions. Question 1, is he effective at challenging the government? The evidence says yes. His protests draw crowds. His EFCC arrest drew condemnation from opposition politicians. His campaign forced institutions to respond. Question 2, is what he's doing actually opposition politics? And that is where reasonable people begin to disagree very loudly. Traditional opposition politics have a structure. You build a party, you contest elections, you win seats, you legislate, you govern. VDM does none of that. He has no party. He has run no election. He holds no office. His platform is Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and the streets of Abuja. But here's the real issue. With the PDP fragmented between two factions, and the Labour Party fighting its own leadership crisis, the formal opposition in Nigeria is structurally weaker than it has been in years. Governor after governor, Delta, Akwa Ibom, Enugu, Bayelsa, defected to the APC in 2025. Some analysts are already talking about a de facto one-party system. In that vacuum, someone has to speak. And the question is whether VeryDarkMan, intentionally or not, has walked into that vacuum. Let's be honest, this is either the most exciting thing happening in Nigerian politics right now, or the most dangerous. Possibly both. To understand why a social media activist can become a political force in Nigeria, we have to go back not 5 years, not 10 years, but to a pattern that runs through the entire Fourth Republic. Nigeria has always had a trust deficit between citizens and formal political institutions. The 1999 Constitution restored democracy, but it handed power to a class of politicians who have largely been recycled from the military era. The same faces, the same godfathers, the same structures. Now, here is something most people don't realize. Genuine opposition in Nigeria has historically come legs from the rival parties and more from the civil society pressure. Think about 2012, the fuel subsidy protest, Occupy Nigeria. Those were not party-led, they were street-led. Unions, activists, ordinary Nigerians who occupied major intersections brought the Goodluck Jonathan administration to the negotiating table. Then came 2020 EndSARS, perhaps the most significant civil mobilization in Nigeria's post-military history. Leaderless, decentralized, powered by social media, the government eventually responded violently with the Lekki Tollgate incident. But the movement forced a national conversation that formal opposition parties had failed to start. VDM is the heir to that tradition, not the politician tradition, the street tradition, the tradition of Fela Kuti, who used music as political opposition when formal opposition was impossible. The tradition of Gani Fawimi, who used the courts and the streets when the National Assembly was silent. Every generation of Nigeria has produced someone who speaks when the elected officials won't. VDM is 2025 version of that person. The question history is now asking is, does this kind of pressure produce lasting change, or does it dissipate? As so many Nigerians protest without institutional reform. Comment below, who do you think is a better comparison for VDM? Is it Fela Kuti? Is it Gani Fawimi or Sowore? I want to know your answer. Now, let's zoom out and look at the pattern, because this is what Pivot Report is actually here to do. There is a recurring dynamic in Nigerian political history. When formal institutions weaken, informal power fills the vacuum, and the people who fill that vacuum often get crushed by the institution they are challenging, until they either become part of the system or the system is forced to change around them. VDM's arrest in May 2025 fits a pattern we have seen before. Dele Farotimi, the human rights lawyer, was arrested for a book criticizing the legal system. Omoyele Sowore has been arrested multiple times. Even Fela Kuti was arrested over 70 times. Here is what the pattern also tells us. Arrests often amplify rather than silence. The Ash-free VDM protests were bigger than most of the protests he had organized himself. His political capital increased the moment the EFCC put him in a cell. There is a second pattern worth noting. VDM is not simply anti-government. He has also led protests about insecurity, teachers' strikes, and corporate accountability. In June 2025, he led a march demanding government action on kidnappings and banditry. In late 2025, he held a private meeting with the Chief of Defense Staff, suggesting the lines between activists and informal political actor are already blurring. But here's the critical difference between VDM and the formal opposition figure: accountability. An elected opposition politician can be removed from office. A senator can face a recall. VDM answers to no electorate. His power comes from follower sentiment, and follower sentiment is by nature volatile. The pattern suggests that informal opposition forces in Nigeria are most powerful when they push formal institutions to act, and most limited when they try to become institutions themselves. Here is what I think this moment actually reveals, and I want you to think carefully about this. Nigerians' formal opposition is not just losing election, it is losing the imagination of young Nigerians. The PDP and Labour Party are fighting internal battles, while a man with a phone is mobilizing tens of thousands of people in the streets. This is a legitimacy crisis that goes deeper than any single election result. VDM's rise tells us that in the age of social media, political legitimacy can be built outside the ballot box. You do not need a party structure. You do not need campaign funding. You need a consistent track record of showing up physically, publicly, and being seen to be uncorruptible. Whether VDMs actually is uncorruptible is a separate question. His critics argue he is a clout chaser who uses activism for personal brand building. His supporters argue that the results, institution responding, public awareness rising, officials being called out, speaks for themselves. But here is the insight that matters most for Nigerians' political trajectory. The 2027 election is approaching, and the formal opposition is in structural disarray. If someone like VDM or the movement it represents does not translate into organized political participation, the energy of Nigerian youth dissatisfaction may once again dissipate without institutional consequence. This is the story of a generation that is hungry, mobilized, and leaderless. And that combination is either the beginning of transformation or the beginning of something more dangerous. So, where does that leave Nigeria? Whether you admire VeryDarkMan or strongly disagree with him is almost beside the point. His rise has exposed deep cracks in Nigerian political landscape, crack that traditional politicians can no longer afford to ignore. The bigger story is not one individual. It is what his influence revealed about power, credibility, leadership, and the changing relationship between citizens and the political class. And that raises an important question. If one social media activist can reshape national conversation more effectively than established political parties, then what lessons should today's leaders and tomorrow's leaders be paying attention to? Here are 5 lessons that extend far beyond VeryDarkMan himself. Lesson 1. Authenticity is a political asset. VDM's political power comes from the perception that it cannot be bought. Emerging leaders, formal and informal, must understand that credibility once built compounds, and once destroyed, it never fully returns. Lesson 2. Institutions matter. Informal power has limits. VDM can mobilize protests. It cannot pass legislation. It cannot appoint judges. It cannot reform INEC. The lesson for activists who want lasting change is that informal pressure must eventually translate into institutional participation, or it remains noise. Lesson 3. Arrests are not victories for power. Every Nigerian government that has detained activists has discovered the same thing. Detention amplifies. The lessons for leaders in power is that you cannot arrest your way out of legitimacy crisis. Lesson 4. The opposition's job is to present an alternative, not just critique. VDM is excellent at exposing problems. What he has not done and cannot do from his current position is present a governing alternative. Formal opposition leaders must learn these lessons. Criticism without vision does not win elections. Lesson 5. Social media power is real but fragile. VDM's influence is real. The Reuters Institute ranking confirms it. But his accounts have been banned multiple times. His message depends on platform algorithms. Sustainable political movement must exist offline as much as online. Those 5 lessons tells us why this moment matters. But they also lead to an even bigger question: what happened next? That is where careful analysis becomes important. No one can predict the future with certainty. Politics is fluid. Public opinion shifts, and unexpected events can change everything overnight. But by looking at Nigeria's political history, the current state of the opposition, and the trajectory of VeryDarkMan influence, we can identify a few realistic paths or scenarios that lie ahead. Scenario A. VDM enters formal politics. He has repeatedly said he's not interested in running for office, but Nigerian political history is full of people who said exactly that. If the 2027 election cycle creates an opening, and if the formal opposition remains fragmented, it is not impossible that VDM or someone from his movement enters the arena. The energy is there. The question is the structure. Scenario B. The movement fragments and dissipates. This is the more historically likely scenario. As NSAS dissipated, Occupy Nigeria dissipated. If VDM's movement remained personality dependent, tied entirely to one man and his social media presence, it will face the same ceiling all Nigerian social movements have faced. One man cannot sustain a movement indefinitely. Scenario C. VDM becomes a kingmaker, not a king. Perhaps the most interesting possibility. He does not run, he does not campaign, but his endorsement or denunciation of 2027 candidates carries weight with young urban voters who trust him more than they trust former politicians. In that case, his power is indirect but real. Scenario D. The state escalates repression. The ash-free VDM episode showed that the government is watching. Future arrests or more serious charges could silence him. But as the patterns show, that has never worked in Nigeria. It just creates martyrs. So, is VeryDarkMan the main opposition force in Nigeria right now? Here is my honest answer. in terms of name recognition, public mobilization, and the willingness to confront power on behalf of ordinary Nigerians, yes. At this specific moment, he is more visible, more active, and more trusted by young Nigerians than any formal opposition party. But opposition is more than visibility. It is structure, continuity, and the capacity to govern. By that definition, VDM is not yet opposition. It is a warning sign that opposition has failed to materialize. And in a democracy, when the formal opposition goes quiet, the streets start speaking. Nigerian streets are speaking right now. The real question is whether anyone with the power to build institution is actually listening. Thank you for watching the Pivot Report, where politics meets history. I want to hear from you. Is VeryDarkMan Nigerian's real opposition, or is something else entirely, something our political vocabulary does not yet have a word for? Drop your answer in the comment below. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. And please subscribe, because we make politics make sense through history. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.